the introduction. So today, our reverse pitch, the most anticipated session. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to learn more about our investors, understand what is their strategy to invest, and also understand also what is the decision process behind their investments. Probably the best thing to do is actually to start with an introduction. So each one of the panelists is going to give us, in a couple of minutes, a short introduction about what they do, how do they invest, and then we can move on to other questions afterwards. So let's start with you, Hirak.
Hi, Hirak Parikh. I'm part of Johnson & Johnson's investment team. I'm based in Boston. So we invest in things that we are in businesses in, so orthopedics, surgical devices, vision, structural heart, atrial fibrillation, and others in MedTech. Thanks.
Hi, Diana Saraceni here from Panacas. At Panacas, we run a venture capital company with 2 funds under management, about 300 million. We invest primarily in European company, but also beyond Europe. We invest mostly in devices, but also a bit on the biotech side, with ticket size in a range of 1 to 10 million. And our sweet spot is A rounds and B rounds, but we are also open to seed and later stage.
Yeah, thank you for including me. I'm Dave Kariakis. I'm a managing partner with Wyndham Capital Partners. We invest predominantly in medical devices as well as digital health and software, and uniquely the convergence that we're seeing between those 2 verticals, so helping to reduce the silos that both operate in and help enable those technologies, predominantly in commercial stage, late clinical stage. So thank you.
Thank you for joining our panel session. I appreciate all of you to be here. My name is Soyoung Park. I'm a general partner of 1004 Venture Partners. We are early stage global fund investing in transformative technologies, support to healthy aging. Our investment focuses in healthcare, wellness, and frontier, as well as infrastructure. I'm looking forward to discussing more about it with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gautam Kent. I represent TCP Health Ventures. TCP, or the Capital Partnership, is an asset management firm based in London. At the group level, we manage $7 billion of assets, primarily focused on venture capital technology investments. Specifically, TCP Health Ventures is our healthcare investing arm. We've been making healthcare investments for the last 8 years. We've deployed $200 million of capital, particularly across Series A, Series B rounds, pre-clinical stage companies. That's where we start investing from. Once we are with the company, we like to follow on and be with them for a period of time to support them. We see ourselves as building companies for large strategics, so we invest into strategies which are favorites of large strategics, be it cardiovascular, ophthalmology, remote patient monitoring. And our eventual aim is basically get an FTO approval closer to that stage and sell it to a large strategic. That's how we define our strategy. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon. So my name is Sascha Berger. I'm the investment director for Bio and MedTech investments for NEOM. Given that this is a global conference, so I can add to that because I'm based in Saudi Arabia. NEOM is a project which is quite ambitious, visionary, developing the city and the land of the future. So new technologies are highly welcome, and that's my job in investing with a global mandate in cutting edge innovation that can be early. Our focus is on A and B rounds because we have patient capital and can follow companies in their journey of growing and disrupting their respective fields. And I'm very much looking forward to engaging and pitching to you guys here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Jyoti. I am an investor with Intuitive Ventures, or the corporate venture investing arm of Intuitive Surgical. We are structured somewhat like an independent fund, so a little bit dissimilarly to other strategics. We invest with a financial focus, meaning that our team does not put strategic terms in our term sheets. and we invest really broadly across the entire ecosystem of minimally invasive care in digital diagnostics and interventions and device. We're typically early stage. Series AB is also our sweet spot. Initial check size is usually $500K to $5 million.
My name is Josh Phillips. I'm the managing partner and co-founder of Catalyst Health Ventures. It's great to be here. Thank you for joining us today. Our fund, Catalyst, we invest in early stage therapeutic and diagnostic medical devices. We typically get involved right around the preclinical to clinical transition. And we are generally, in terms of our style, we are generally lead investors, very active part of the team. Typical areas that we've invested in, although it's not necessarily by design, we've done quite a bit in cardiology, interventional oncology, and even ophthalmology and women's health. So look forward to continuing this panel.
Thank you, Josh. So that was just a brief introduction for everyone, but I think we're going to get more into details. Now you're pitching your fund to the entrepreneurs, and I'd like to know what makes your fund special, and what do you bring, I would say, beyond capital? Maybe Soyoung, I know you're very active on that side. We can start with you.
Sure, thank you. So 1004 Venture Partners is aiming to become a one-stop shop, which means we want to invest, or we also want to provide coaching, mentoring program. We have a separate companies for 3 different companies. One is, of course, investment. The other one is mentoring coaching system. The final one is actually helping you prepare the exits. We have all expertise on these 3 areas and also experiences. With that said, we can help you to grow, combining with providing all the ecosystem, and as well as the exit preparation. When I'm hoping to become a shopper of the buyers when you are able to exit.
Gautam, any words about TCP?
Yeah, so for us, I think we try to add value in sort of few ways. I think one of the interesting aspects, especially for early stage companies, is institutional level reporting and governance. And I think that's very critical for us, having a board pack, a format for that particularly, setting up the board calendars in advance, and so that everything is done in an institutional manner, so to say, which sometimes I think a lot of these startups do not sort of, because of the pace of change or the pace of activity which happens with them, these tend to be overlooked, but that's very critical for us, as in the institutional level reporting, the board and governance, and eventually that leads them to sort of becoming more structured in terms of their planning their projects and monitoring timelines and all of it. That's one thing. The second thing that I will add is once we invest into a company, we can sort of take them and sort of do follow-on rounds. We typically lead the follow-on rounds as well until an exit happens. That's our second sort of value add in terms of our investing.
So you are involved in structuring the companies also? The board members, the leadership maybe? Are you proposing specific names to the leadership? How does that work?
Not on the team side, but I think it's more on the institutional process, so to say. Like when the board meetings happen, what is the format of a board pack as well? So we even get to that level of institutional reporting with our portfolio companies, so that the performance is tracked on a quarterly or a monthly basis, including business MIS and all of it, and which many of the startups typically do not find time to sort of focus on those areas, and that's honestly for us is an important aspect.
Is anyone here actually involved in structuring the company's leadership? Can someone say this about, or this is not something you're involved in? Maybe Diana?
I think all of us are, right? We're very kind of hands-on early stage that requires investors to be involved in the definition of the leadership team. But to Panacas, if you want to address the question, we're different for, I think 3 things are really key for us. One is the sector expertise by partner, and that is pretty visible already when they pitch us. The companies get immediately directed on the one partner that has KOL network and specific sector expertise and can really challenge on the topic specifically. and we're 5 of us. The second thing is we have 12 strategics invested in our funds, and that is quite unique as well. There's small, medium companies, but all of the other LPs are bringing a lot of expertise on board and network. And probably the third thing is that we 5 partners are a blend of entrepreneurs who made it already and are a success and have a lot of operational experience, and people from the investment world. I'm on that side of as a background, and that drive more of we're going to make money out of this. So it's a good blend and it works.
I see. Josie, maybe one word about how Intuitive brings additional value, I would say, beyond capital.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really lucky to be affiliated with a corporate parent that has a lot of strategic resources that are very relevant to the companies that we invest in frequently. This can include anything from reimbursement and regulatory advice to commercial scaling advice to KOL networks, and frequently even clinical sites that many of our portfolio companies have run trials at. A great example that I love to cite is that one of our portfolio companies actually ran an animal study with the Da Vinci robotic system on Intuitive campus. That was fully funded by Intuitive Corporate as well. So we have a really wide variety of resources we're able to use. That said, as a venture group that operates independently, it's really, really important for us to make sure that we are using firewalls to the extreme degree. So we're making sure that there is no IP pollution or any concern on behalf of our portfolio companies about sharing of information that they don't want explicitly shared. So we are very, very careful about making sure that anything that is shared with our ventures team is not shared with the rest of the corporate without the explicit instruction of our CEOs.
Josh, maybe one word, yeah.
Sure. So if you are running a medical device company that is bringing a really transformative technology to the market to address a major unmet need, I'd suggest you call us. We only do 1 or 2 deals a year. We are super selective at what we do. And so when we do decide to do one, I think we can help in terms of bringing a syndicate together and that other people look at us as a lead investor. As a lead investor, you ask about forming management teams. A lot of the companies that we have are relatively early stage. And we pride ourselves as being the sort of linchpin between the management and the investor group. And what we've seen over 20 to 25 years of doing this is often a syndicate can start pulling the team in different directions. And interests of one fund may not be the same as the interest in another fund. Interests of one partner may not be in the same interests of others. And so what we try to do is to keep that team together to ensure that the management team is not being pulled in those different directions. So working closely with the teams, we've very good relationships with the major strategics as well as our network. So we are a lead investor that really can help you, get your round pulled together and then beyond that.
So Josh, you're saying that you're also involved in managing the other investors in order to maintain focus on the team and not spread them apart. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't usually happen right away because when you do your first investment, everybody's on the same page. But, MedTech can take a long time. And over time, funds change their opinions on a particular deal. Everyone's looking at their own portfolio. And maybe this company isn't in your portfolio as important as it is in my portfolio. And when that happens, you can start getting people pulling in different directions. And that's where we've seen a lot of problems as a result of it. So our job often, not 100% of the time, but often is in making sure, is kind of, I will say herding cats, bringing people together to keep everybody going on in the same direction. We're not always successful, but we try.
Sasha and Gautam, go ahead. Yeah.
Just to add, I think this is on behalf of probably all of us. Typically, like as investors, we are not operators. Yeah. So we are, so to say, transaction people. And I think this points to about the point about value optimization and exit discussions. So that's where we try to add, and this is probably true for all of us, sort of get actively involved in those conversations, including hiring of investment bankers, certain cases, what will be the structured process like, how will because many of the MedTech transactions typically have milestone-linked performances, so we get deeply involved in those sort of sort of value optimization analysis, and that's probably I think, one integral part of our value add for all of us.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit of my stance. So I don't want to be an operator. I believe our CEOs are superior on the operation, and we believe them. What we like to do is I want to ask if there's any help. I want to be the person who actually provides the help you need. We invest in you because we believe in you. We don't believe you will make your company failure. So all our role is to help you, support you, and then ensure that you can actually go out to the market or the investment for the next round. That's my stance.
So does support include, in your case, coaching, mental health support for leaders? We know that's very important. Does that encompass all that?
Yeah, of course, the mentorship program is slightly different. We actually partner with the leaders of each ecosystem. So for example, Deloitte, Cooley is the law firm, most prestigious law firm in the Bay Area, and also the investment banks. So we actually kind of provide office hours to the founders we select, and then you can actually gain probably 1 hour per month each of this ecosystem. That's the program we provide. For us, just talk about a little bit about Silicon Valley. We used to invest only the companies in Silicon Valley. The reason is because we want to visit them and we want to build a relationship. So every kind of Wednesday, about 15 minutes, we talk to founders. How are you doing? Is there anything we can help? So that's how we actually kind of maintain the relationship and then help them find out problems readily and then find out solution if we can help. So that's the, more like relationships building, but also kind of checking in as much as we can. But now it's not very regional. Now we don't really invest only the Silicon Valley. So we are setting up some small chat time, and then we can check it out virtually. And also, in my case, I actually visit them. So that's the reason I travel a lot as well.
David, did you want to add something?
Sure. Yeah, a lot of good reasons to take your money, everybody up here. So what we try to do at Wyndham is we try to materially add more value than the cost of our capital. And by doing that, we tend to, with our competitive spirit, try to be your best salesperson, beat the quotas that you set. My background, I helped run the innovation and investment arm for the third largest nonprofit health system in the US. My colleague helped run corp dev for J&J, one of their largest device businesses. So having that experience living inside of your strategic or your customer, we can become the voice of your customer, help facilitate these introductions for you, evaluate an unbiased, non-influenced sales cycle with a friendly on the other side to then repeat and pressure test to really help hone the value proposition to help enable scale for the business. So uniquely, we both have had success investing in pure medical device as well as pure software and digital health. And so that unique area between and the value that each one and the diversified view we find to be differentiated.
All right, so if no further comments, let's, Hirak, do you want to add anything? Maybe we didn't. You must have a different perspective in J&J, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, our perspective is, we are really sort of the end stage for a lot of these companies. So after, you make progress, that's kind of, when we invest, our goal is to really acquire you. So, we are trying to set you up for that sort of success in terms of like what would it take for, the corporate, like to get bought by J&J, for example, right? So, I mean, J&J is a very big company, but we're not very good at innovation. The startups, you are very good at it. What we are very good at is scaling. We're very good at selling it. We're very good at putting it with all our other products. So that's kind of when we put the money in, and as Josh mentioned, it takes a long time, right? From the time we make an investment till we acquire a company, for example, WeWave, it took about 7 years only since we made the investment and J&J acquired it. But in the meantime, we bring other investment, we put you in touch with all the resources within the company, like supply chain, manufacturing, could be KOLs. So, we bring to bear all the resources of a big corporate, but our lens is with the intention that you're doing great as a startup now, but how do you transition from being a startup or a company to something that can be part of a bigger entity, if that's sort of the end state for your company?
And Sasha, also, I think your perspective is quite different now with Neom. What does Neom bring in addition to capital? Is there anything that you would say that's different from what we've heard?
Well, of course, yes, I'd say so. But I mean, maybe let's challenge the notion of we're all different to a certain degree, right? All the investors are a little bit the same, right? So yes, we're trying to each pitch a different story here, slightly different, but in the end, it's investing money, and every investor is hoping to make more money than he was investing in the first place. Where it really makes a difference is also the personal level, right? This is a people business, so people engaging with you really believe in this. I mean, we said this before. Also go the extra mile as an investor and fighting for your portfolio company when it becomes a challenging situation, and there are many challenging situations in growing the business. So that then is not necessarily tied to the institution you work for, but it's also a very personal element in this business. But coming back to the question of what is Neom and why are we different? Well, first, we can provide capital. That's always something helpful in this space. But beyond that, there's a project which is quite visionary, and with our investment, you would become part of that journey. And that there are endless opportunities and engaging on different levels where we can provide access to completely different population, different other stakeholders, testing technologies, being in for the long run. So there's quite some unique elements because this is not just capital, this is a strategic investment plan which we have and follow.
It's interesting that as an investor, you're bringing people with you on a journey. So that's actually an interesting take because you have a story to tell within the Neom ecosystem that's being built. So we've asked a question to the audience. Let's have a look at it and comment it before we get the results. Julia, okay. So what is the most critical factor MedTech startups need to prioritize for securing investor funding? So we have strong regulatory pathway, product market fit, scalable business model, clinical trial data and validation. I'd like to hear you guys about, would you actually vote the same as the audience, the product market fit, or do you see something that's not in this list and that's more important? David, what do you think?
There are far easier ways to make money than a healthcare startup, particularly a device business. So I think all of us are here not just to make money, but to have an impact. And there's no other segment in the economy that can impact your neighbor, help them and yourself in a vulnerable state, have that security and health and live the best life that you can. When I evaluate a company, I feel you have to have some sort of structure to it. And so what I've developed over the years is kind of 8 buckets of risk. And I'll try and remember all 8 on the spot here. But management, market size, competitive dynamic, regulatory, reimbursement, supply chain, manufacturing, and then clinical trial risk. And I'm amazed I remembered all of those. But I find that you can take 2 yellow flags out of those 8 as we're evaluating it, because you can work to mitigate a yellow flag with some support and focus that time and attention on helping the team build around it and solve those problems. 3 becomes a hard one. Having a red flag and a yellow flag, you might be able to do it, but you start then having to change the risk-reward profile and how you price a deal. There's always a valuation expectation or deal to be structured. And I find that you're able to quantify the risk. There's always hurricane risk or fire risk or a pandemic that you can't really account for. So there's at least a bit of a strategy and structure to how I go about evaluating an opportunity and then trying to roll up my sleeves to help address those issues before, during, and after the investment.
And David, you're talking about like a formal process. Do you actually like go through the process, or is it like a mental thing that you go through quickly when you see a project? Is it something that you document actually?
Yeah, so we do have a rigorous diligence process. That is more of my mental process, and I'm working on bringing it to paper, implementing it, but that is part of the process. The other is actually making introductions to customers, health systems who we partner very closely with and have worked with historically, or strategics, allowing a sales cycle to unfold, and then pulling the unique insight, what sales cycle, who's the decision maker, what was also decided in the process, who are the champions, how are they incented, how are they thinking about it, and what's the value prop that they resonated most with them, and how do you compare that on the other side to the sales leader, and then continue to hone that. Then pressure test, is this something for an academic medical center, a large IDN, or community hospital, by introducing and running that sales cycle over and over. So even if we say, no, it's not an investment for us, we at least are adding value and trying to relieve the bottlenecks in the market and add value.
I think just one of the points I want to add here is basically as part of our strategy, we look at projects which are critically important to the big strategics, because effectively that takes care of the reimbursement risk, the market risk, the product market fit. If a Boston Scientific or a J&J or a Philips is already in that market, we closely follow what they are doing, and we are happy to be followers, as in for our companies in replicating and creating companies for the large strategics to be acquired. So that to me is one of the critical factors for us. And once you take care of that, I think a lot of these factors are already taken care of. Yeah.
For my standpoint, all of these are important. I'm sorry to say this, but we are not looking for a company, really, really good at market adoption, but technology sucks. These people are amazing marketers, but they don't know technologies. They're not going to work. I believe all of you know. We are not looking for one outstanding of one of these four. It is like a pageant contest. You should be 100%. Everything is all covered. I saw some cases, there's a really, really good technology, top-notch technology. We don't know if they can enter. Commercialization can be a little bit questionable, but team is amazing. We love these people. We believe in these people. Sometimes we enter. But most of the case, please understand, we actually deal with so many similar companies who are targeting same market. Maybe different approaches, but same market. Then we actually kind of evaluate one by one, compare each of them. What is the MOAT, which is competitive advantages? Without all of this, I don't think you can win that contest. So what I like to say is, on the top of this, what I want to see is your vision, what you want to do, what kind of impact you want to bring to society. Are you really want to just make money? I believe that's not your vision. I want to see how much, how fast, how cheaper you can actually bring your vision to the world, so patients and family, caregiver can be benefited from you. That's what I also want to see.
I just have one thing to add here. I certainly agree with the premise that all of these factors are important. Every investment is a holistic evaluation. But the one thing I don't want to get lost in all of this, these particular four do a good job of being relevant, more relevant at different stages of a company. I don't want anyone here to walk away with the assumption that, when you are raising a seed round, you need to have all of this already perfectly figured out. You need to have, run all of your animal studies already, and you need to have your pivotal trial design and everything done. We as investors understand that there are different degrees of risk associated with different stages of companies. What we want is a nuanced thought process with regard to every one of these aspects.
So I would argue a little bit different from that. As a Series A investor, sometimes even company formation, setting the team aside for a minute, it all starts for us with product market fit, because everything else there falls out of that. So if you don't have a market, that's a problem. And if you don't have the product to fit that market, that's a problem. Everything else there comes out of it. And we actually want our teams to have thought all those things through beforehand. If they come in and they can't tell us, you know, what the clinical trial pathway looks like for an EFS or for a pivotal, they haven't done their work. And that informs us on the team. So we're also looking for very passionate teams and passionate founders. To us, that actually sets them apart, but it also means that they understand all these things. They've looked into it, they've spent all the time, and they've figured out how to go forward. But starts with product market fit for us.
Yeah, I fully agree with Joshua and Josh. The product market fit in the early days is the most important to me, and so I fully agree with the outcome here, provided that it means that there's a large enough market in the product market fit, which is probably the scalable that came out as a second.
Implied,
yeah, because in devices sometimes there could be like very good product market fit, but then you end up with the market that is too small in that sense. So the other thing that's not in here and would be my second best is execution risk. And that, I mean, the way it comes in is if you really see the passion coming out and they have studied and they know it all and they know it well, that is for us is the risk is well addressed. So it goes with people and with money around the table as well. Because if you can build up a large enough round that allows for some mistakes to be done along the way, that is something you would go for. So
a entrepreneur's ability to succinctly communicate a very complex vision and problem and how or solution to a complex problem. You're talking to, and you're on this wild and crazy journey, very difficult, but your ability to do that with an engineer, with an accountant, with a sales rep, with an investor, just the diversity in personalities, and having that message resonate succinctly across all of them, that's where it all comes together and really starts scaling, and you have a growth from there.
Hope we don't sound crazy here. We are, at the end, when we believe in you, if you feel like, oh my God, you know what you are doing, and you have a grit, you have ability, you have a team to execute it, what you said, and we want to support you. We are not here just to evaluate all the time. We definitely want to support you, but we want to evaluate. We can support you. Not everybody has the same expertise here, so we basically kind of invest in the companies that we can actually add the strategic value more than anyone else.
And maybe just to add some controversy here, for the fun of it. No, but truly, I mean, I'd like to challenge the notion of product market fit, because for truly disruptive technologies, there might not be a market today. And of course, many of my peers, and also in my previous life, I was very much focused on, okay, how can I get this to the market? What's the immediate application? Who will buy this, so I can calculate the addressable market and so on. But for true innovations, and there are not many of these, right? There is no market before. You can think of it, right? What this technology could enable, and that's the beautiful part of my job today here is to think about these things, right? Which can create a complete new technology field, a new way of delivering care, and that may be 10 years or even more down the road, and that will be a super risky path. But that is actually what of course excites everyone. Most of the investors cannot follow that because you have a closed-end fund structure. You have to deliver returns to your investors. So that's the beauty of investing from a balance sheet with a long-term vision of engaging with these exciting technologies.
One thing we saw with the recent investment is that if there isn't a current market, MedTech investors get really scared, because that means there's no established reimbursement. It means there's no pathway for clinical care. They get really scared. And we find that we will do those deals, but you have to figure out, to your point, you know, there's no existing market, but what could it be? Is it taking away from drugs? Is it because drugs become ineffective over time, and we have a device that can actually address what the drugs can't do? Or is it because no one's ever had EEG for more than 2 days, and now we can have it for 6 months, and what could be because of that? So you're right, that brings in a whole lot of risks, and in general, a lot of MedTech investors don't like it because they want established reimbursement and established pathways, which is great.
Yeah. Perhaps the way of reframing this is, you know, there's an entire category of technologies for which you're looking for product need fit, but in that specific case, you want extra rigor when it comes to all of the factors that are necessary to build a new market. And that includes new reimbursement and regulatory pathways, that includes new sales pathways. Yeah.
And a lot more time.
And a lot more time. And capital associated with time.
Yeah, basically the healthcare market has a lot of unmet needs. Probably we cannot catch up all the unmet needs within our lifetime, in my opinion. So I totally understand the new market, growing market, a new opportunity. Of course, I see a lot of them through the new platform which called AI technologies. So I actually think a medical device should be combined with the AI technology and then bring a new value in the future. So that's the one example of the growing new market. And on the top of that, we see so many unmet needs. I'd like to ask you to think about how can we prevent it rather than just kind of serve the existing problem. Sometimes it sounds like a Band-Aid solution to me. Rather than that, we want to see you are more focused on the prevention, and you actually bring up this kind of a solution to everybody not to have a serious problem in the future.
Since we were going into new markets, and I think, Sasha, you brought up this point, so if there's no market, then what happens to the market fit? But the question then is, how do you decide? What is your decision process, especially in these situations? If you can walk us through it a little bit, how do you decide for yourself? How do you decide within the company? I think people are interested in knowing, what makes them win with you. So what's the process you go through to decide? Gautam, you can start, Sasha. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a challenging piece, of course. The ingredients are all the same. So the technology has to be truly disruptive. And I don't want to say that this is not a little bit of improvement, not a me too, but it has to fundamentally change the way you can deliver care. As I say, if you go from a drug to a device, that's a shift, of course. But if you can go from a device to a completely digital solution, you don't even need the device anymore, that would also be quite disruptive in certain senses. But ultimately, in the end, it's people doing that, right? So that's where you come down to the very simple basics of investing. You have to have passionate people who can execute, right? And the more risk you see in the technology, the less risk you want to see on the people side doing that. And that is then where we probably all align on.
That's a nice equation, yeah, kind of balancing risk between technology and people. Yeah.
We do a lot of work to determine, is this a push market or a pull market? And if it's a push, how do we solve a lot of the bottlenecks to create a pull? And some of the newer markets, new verticals are certainly a push, but you also have to see there is a problem. It's not being addressed today. And can you streamline that in a way to create a lot more efficiencies? You really have to own the ROI on the back end and get credit for the work that you're doing and make it easier. And so identifying those opportunities, being crazy enough to go along with you, but balancing that craziness with actual reality and starting to pressure test. And you see in these push markets, those early adopters and those visionaries on the other side. And if you find one that is, or enough that are capable of convincing their peers, then you find a really unique opportunity where the market pulls you aggressively, and it may take time and patience. It's certainly a virtue that's required for that, but when it happens, it's one of the most amazing things in healthcare that we can do.
Hirak, I'm also interested in J&J. Like, what is your decision process? Must be probably different from others, maybe more cumbersome process. I don't know. What is the decision that? How do you go through it in order to decide you're going to invest, acquire?
Yeah. So I sort of thread some of the pieces here. Obviously, we have businesses that we are in, and there are things that have a product market fit that we're looking for. These are, which I call sort of bread and butter investments. The things that are going to keep things moving as of today. But part of our job is also to look to the future and figure out what healthcare is going to be 10, 15 years from now, right? It's not going to be how it is today. We had a pandemic, things changed a lot in terms of what assumptions there were. So we're very sensitive and we're very thoughtful about how we go there. I mean, to give an example, right? Maybe 15, 20 years ago, there was a small company called Intuitive that had a robotic company that J&J completely missed the boat, and so did Medtronic, right? So, there can be disruptive things that Sasha is talking about, that if you're not careful or if you don't take that risk, it may end up eating your lunch, which they are, good for them. But, so that's sort of our job in the investment team, is to try to figure out what are these adjacent spaces, what are these white spaces that could be super disruptive in the future, and we keep an eye on that, which is kind of why we like to co-invest. So we are strategics, but we try to invest with a lot of the people on this stage, because they all understand something about these markets that we want to. So we don't think that, hey, we are J&J, we are so big, because innovation comes from anywhere. It comes from many different things. It can happen very suddenly and very quickly. So our goal with at least JJDC is that we can go and acquire and spend billions of dollars on a company that we like, right? We can always do that. But the question is, are we making some of these investments early and having all this optionality, because we don't know how the future is going to turn out. Sometimes there won't be a fit. Sometimes there'll be some regulatory hurdle, right? But again, instead of like putting all the eggs in one, say, R&D project, now we've got optionality on 10 investments that we can follow, and we can keep putting money in. So that's how we sort of look at sort of answering. I mean, all these things are important, but how we kind of figure out the exact balance. And I'll be the first to admit that we don't always get it right. Sometimes we fail miserably, and sometimes we succeed really spectacularly because of some of these early investments.
We're having a good discussion, but I think maybe there's some questions from the audience. Yusuf, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks to the panel for pitching what they bring to the table. So we're going to be at a point in a couple months from now where we might be working together. And one of the most common things I hear from founders is that they promised me X, Y, Z, open doors, a lot of the things that you've pitched. But once the terms were closed, not a lot materialized. So can you give us some tips to differentiate between those who kind of promise a lot of things but don't deliver, and really figure out like what are the real deliverables we can expect? Because I hear a lot of times expectations, round is closed, a lot of disappointment, and it's being mostly hammered at board meetings on financial metrics. So curious to hear like how do we cut through the noise and the promises and know what we can really count on after we close the round.
I think I sort of alluded to this point earlier as well. That's part of our sort of tracking system, as in getting an institutional governance framework within the startups that we invest into. We sort of, to the extent we decide on a quarterly basis what are the milestones that need to be achieved, we track them for the last quarter and then project them for the next quarter. So I think that's really the key, tracking each of the key milestones, the important ones, on a regular basis, and of course there will be misses, but the point is to be finding out why the misses were there, and rather than that's the whole point, like finding solutions to those problems and keeping a tab on those milestones. That's how we sort of monitor that very closely. That's very important for us.
Super tactical thing, always ask for references to CEOs of portfolio companies. They are going to be the best resource for other entrepreneurs to speak to, and frankly, we all make our livings on reputation. So it does matter to us.
Absolutely. I can't believe how few actually do ask for references. But I think we also use the diligence process as a way of getting to figure out if we can work with you for a long period of time. And we try to be very clear and have a common understanding, not only with you, but with the rest of the syndicate on exactly what we're going to be doing and what our objectives are. Often we're tranching rounds around specific milestones. And to just make that clear to everybody. So, I think that whole diligence process is really the time to figure out the same thing we're trying to figure out about you. Can you work with us? And you should call references.
So for the early stage companies, it's really hard to find out from the quantitative analysis. During the due diligence process, we definitely perform quantitative analysis as well as qualitative analysis. Qualitative analysis actually works better for the early stage companies. So we meet a lot of KOLs, and inside your network, also our network. And then, of course, validate the technology, of course. And then team is purely on us. We actually check your reputation, what kind of people you are. I always visit the office and meet the employees as well to ensure the employees look happy. If they feel miserable, I believe he's not really saying the truth. So that's the kind of one qualitative analysis we perform. And the quantitative analysis, you provide your revenue projection. We actually sometimes ask, please provide your traction, like LOI or MOU or your partnership, how you can support your revenue. Of course, we cannot measure 5 years later how much your revenue can be. You just kind of need to rely on you. But still, we actually guess based on the market, we actually be able to calculate what kind of revenue, what kind of market penetration can be possible. If they bluff, we actually can find out pretty easily than you think.
Any other comments regarding?
So let me just make one comment. I think what you're saying is really important, and a lot of founders are very concerned about that, is that, when the VCs invest, they're going to get rid of me, and, this is going to sort of get rid of that. But I think the way to think of it is, we all have responsibilities to, the money that we have taken from where, so our responsibility is to ensure that we're investing in a technology, and to David's earlier point, we want to make sure that this gets to the patients, because if that does, then we're all successful. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, as a founder, is some decision being taken that's in my interest, or this is the best decision for the company? So those sometimes can be intertwined with an early stage founder, but they are different, right? What's probably good for you as a founder may not be in the best interest of the company. And I think most of the people on this stage would agree that we're not trying to replace people, because it's really painful. It takes a lot of time and money. That's the last thing we want to do. But sometimes it's in the best interest of the company and the shareholders, that if you're on the board, that you're representing, who may not have a voice on the board and may not have the executive ability to do that. We are representing those. So maybe that's one way to think about it, is like, who is this good for, right? Is it good for the founder or good for the company?
All right, next question.
Hello, this is I'm Donald Hickey, Pump and Heart, which is in Galway in Ireland, and we're developing a device to treat diastolic heart failure. So my first question is, and this touches on a number of things that were said, is how regional focused is investment? So do American VCs, which American VCs will invest in Ireland, for example, but not just Ireland, in other European countries? And also then, how many of you would invest in companies that just had preclinical data?
I would say, as long as Guinness and Irish whiskey is brought to the board meetings, then I'm there. You got me sold. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Yeah.
wanted to know who would invest at a preclinical stage. Maybe we can just say, who? Here we are.
Case by case.
I love Irish whiskey in this
Yeah,
as well.
I don't
but
believe
no.
I don't believe innovation comes from specific geography or specific prestigious school. Innovation came from anywhere. Anyone think out of the box can bring the innovation. We are looking for opportunity. We are not looking for just kind of top-notch name brand. So if you can bring something really bring a huge value to the society, I'm interested in.
All right, any other? Okay, just one more question. Last one.
Thank you. I'm Georgi from Kelvin Health. So my question is how to provoke transparency when you get a pass from an investor, because, you know, when we speak or when you speak at panels, it's always about the moonshots, the impact, the vision, the team, whatever, and you get typically the feedback from investors that you have a great vision, you have a great team, you have whatever, and then you have, we decided it's a pass for now, but you can't get any other information, and this is kind of confusing sometimes. Sometimes it might even derail you from looking for other ways for funding, like grant funding, etc., etc. So again, depending on how comfortable you feel to answer that, but what's the typical reason, even after the conversation has escalated, it's not just the first meeting, it might be up to a board meeting, like an investment committee or something, but then rarely you can get the honest feedback, and I'm not talking about feedback, I'm talking about honest feedback. Maybe if you think the management team is not experienced enough, why don't you tell those guys? I think this is a valuable feedback, and we rarely see that.
Can I take it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I think the point is providing feedback can be unpleasant and can create bad will. And there's nothing due, right? We are investors, not consulting company, and eventually it's not due. Having said that, for example, at Panacas, we always do it. And it's not easy to say, well, you know, we don't think the leadership is adequate. We don't think your data is worth believing in it. We don't think there is a market. But market size is easier to say. Like, market is not big enough. We don't believe in your market calculation. We just don't believe in what you believe. It's not the easier thing to say. We always do, but it's always going to be verbally. So my recommendation would be ask for it at the end of the meeting, not in writing afterwards, or don't try to chase investors because you want to talk to them and hear for it. It's not you. I mean, it's an extra thing that we would do to help you, but it's not part, we cannot invoice you for that in the end, right? We just are taking a risk to create a bad will situation. That's... Okay.
Yeah, let's hear from some other people. Sasha, what would you say to that? When you're not investing, would you give directly the direct reason, or would you, dance around it to not hurt anyone, or?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's the one answer, because it depends on the relationship you've built, right? I mean, if it's just one of 100 pitch decks you receive and you simply don't have the time, right? You just see it doesn't fit at all, so then you get a quick doesn't fit. If you have engaged for a long time, you had 3 meetings in person across the globe, then I would expect also from the company that there is a deeper discussion. I know that some are of course afraid, because if you say no, right, then you can get challenged, right? So why did you say no? And then it starts, start getting calls, and so that of course is not necessarily the most pleasant part of it. But every experienced investor has no so many more times in his life than said yes. So everyone is experienced in that, and should not be afraid of giving that feedback. Again, often it's not a point of not goodwill. It's simply a matter of lack of time. So the more you have engaged, the more honest feedback you should be able to receive, and that's also something you should request.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not talking about the volume. It might be a single sentence, so it's not a consultancy. It's like your team is not that experienced yet. Thank you. Or your data is in Eastern Europe and it's such. I mean, it's not about.
Well, I said.
I don't think it's a bad
No, we always do that. But I mean, sometimes it's easier to say it's too early for us. That leaves a good relationship, and it is. I fully agree. And it doesn't help the company. So we always do, but sometimes we wonder why do we do it? Because in the end, it would be easier for us to say it's early stage. It's too early. Keep us up to date. So I mean, what's in it for us to share the feedback? You have to think of that. I totally agree, and we do it once again.
So,
if you were in touch with us, you got the feedback, at least during the meeting, not in writing. We tend not to do it in writing because that takes a lot more time, but we do it.
All right, thank you for the question, and we need to leave the stage for the next session, but that was a fun discussion. Thanks, David. One last word maybe you want to have? All right. All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening, and I'll leave it to Julia for the rest. Thank you.